let's go back to last year. 31-4, 17-3 in the Valley, the reigning and defending Missouri Valley Conference champs at this point. I think that from my TV days, I have been lucky from covering Murray State 2010, 2012, 2022. They won 31 games in each of those years. Those seasons are unnatural to win that many games. Drake hit that number last year, just being inside the circle, inside the tent of that last year. What was that like, just witnessing that and playing your small role in sharing those moments with the Drake fan base?
Oh man. Yeah, it was pretty remarkable.
Because it caught all you guys. November 1st of 2024, no one's dialing up 31 wins last year.
No, you'd be insane to think so. And I think maybe the only people that thought that was possible was probably Ben McCollum and maybe an assistant or two. Like they kind of felt like they knew they had something after that scrimmage against Texas Tech, which was a semi-secret scrimmage back then. They kind of felt like they had something, but I think they also didn't fully know, like, all right, how does everything work here in the Division I ranks? And so they were all trying to kind of figure some stuff out, and really all the way through, into January. I know there were just sometimes where it's like, all right, how does this or that work? And which is cool. I mean, that's what happens with the first year coach. You're still trying to figure some stuff out, especially making the jump from D2 to D1. But he didn't have a whole lot of problems figuring out the X's and O's part and coaching up his guys. And man, it was, that trip down to South Carolina. I remember talking to Bryson Williams, one of the assistants, and he's like, I know we got Miami, and he's like, we'll see about the next two. Like they were that confident going into Charleston. I was like, all right, like that sounds good. Obviously, Miami didn't turn out to be like the Miami we thought they could be. But how it all started, it was just like, okay, this is a blast, and they're fun to watch. They are, similar to what the words I was using with the team that we currently have, is they were connected and kind of playing for each other and selfless and all those things. And that it really showed on the floor, and that kind of caught the nation by surprise. They start off unbeaten until conference play, with the UIC and Murray State games. But, I kind of go back. I might have said it on this show before, but that Friday in Wichita is maybe my most favorite day I've ever had working. I mean, and that's like going back to covering Rose Bowls and covering the Kentucky Derby. And like, I've seen some stuff that's been pretty neat, but like the connection that you have with the fan base and the players that you build throughout the year, and then to do something that's never been done before, kind of with this in this era, was pretty special, and everybody was on cloud nine. And gosh, it was a lot of fun to be a part of.
And then I don't even know that the page turns, but the whole book turns, obviously, as Ben McCollum goes to Iowa, and we're starting all over. And, this is, we look at key departures, and in a way it's everybody is the key departure from last year, but certainly no more key departure than Bennett Sturtz. Just a guy that, it was kind of the running joke back in October, November is, what's a Bennett Sturtz? And we all learned very quickly, this is the best player in the conference and one of the best players in the country. What is the tangible stuff's easy. What's maybe the intangible void he leaves with moving on to Iowa?
Yeah, I mean, it's so hard about talking about like replacing one player, because everything's different.
Sure.
So yes, his ability late in the game to turn to him and say, go, like he was a streak stopper. I was actually just scrolling through the Missouri highlights yesterday as we were making some video board videos, and I'm watching some of the highlights, and it was just like every time in that game that Mizzou made a push, the ball was in Bennett's hand and it was going to the rim, and he would get that 2-point stopper. I think it got to 55-54 or something like that, or 55-55 late in that game. And Bennett just put his head down, went to the rim, got a layup, got a stop at the other end, went over, made a three. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh, okay, phew. But it all started kind of with like Bennett making those game defining plays. And when you have a guy like that, and you even go back to a couple years ago, a guy like Tucker DeVries, when there's that one guy you can turn to, I mean, there's so much comfort in that. And right now you look at our roster, and I like the team a lot. I think this is going to be a team that's going to finish better than 6th in the Missouri Valley, and I think they're going to compete for a championship. But at the same time, I don't know if I see like, all right, that guy right there is going to be the one that, and, that might develop throughout the season. But how Bennett in those big moments took over and made the play that was needed, that was, that's hard to find.
Yeah, very much so. The thing that always just impressed me, and part of it, certainly it was, Coach McCollum had a methodical pace, and, they weren't going to speed. Bennett never got fat, never got hurried up.
No.
And it was just, and that was to your point, when the storm is there, he was the calm in the storm to navigate the Bulldogs to the finish line. We talk about key returners. There's only the 2 returners, and certainly not much to go off of with Andrew Aaliyah. Only played 7 games last year. Eli Shetler coming over from Indiana State, redshirted last season. It's early, obviously, but can we expect anything out of those guys this season with Coach Henderson's rotation?
Yeah, one thing I was thinking about the other day is I think there have been like 35 players that have played for Drake over the last 3 seasons, and so that's wild. And Andrew Aaliyah is one of those guys that's played over the last 3 years. He was with Darren and Coach Mack, and now with Hendo. So, he is one of those guys that has already gained the trust of this coaching staff. He is kind of we sat right here a couple weeks ago talking to him, and he's like, I just want to be a guy that makes winning plays. He's on scholarship now. So that's another sign that this coaching staff trusts and believes in him. And I think he's going to be a player that's definitely going to be in the rotation. He was, one of the first guys on the floor on Saturday in that, 20-minute segment. So I think the coaches might be looking at like, all right, is Andrew a guy that could start? Is he a guy that's, the 6th man that comes off the bench? Where will he fit into the rotation of this team? Because especially early on, having somebody that just does the right stuff without Owen Larson in the lineup potentially early in November, can Andrew be, that guy that's a steadying presence? So I think he would have played all last season, would have had, been kind of like a 10, 12 minutes per game guy, probably, 3-4 points per game. But he's really good at rebounding from that guard position. He's tough defensively. So he's a guy that would have helped that team win games last year. Obviously, they ended up not having a ton of issues with that, but I think he would have had a major role in that tournament team. Eli Shetler, which here's like just a pure coincidence. He's from Wichita, and the last 2 games he's played or been with Drake have been down in Wichita. So that's been kind of a cool thing for him. And I think he is one of those guys fighting to get into the rotation. He's a really good shooter, and he's always had that skill. This offseason, like if you walk into the gym and you see Eli, you're like, that's a guy that looks way different than he did a year ago. I mean, he's bulked up a little bit. He's gotten stronger, so he can help the team on the defensive end. And then he is one of those guys that is dangerous with the ball in his hand from outside. So I would love to see Eli crack into the lineup. He's put in his work. He's as good as they come. I mean, he's what, 6'5" wing that can shoot. I mean, there's a lot there. There's a lot to like.
Key additions much like the departures, everybody, key additions, everybody. We can go down the list. A couple guys I just want to highlight, and one is the one that came with Coach Henderson from South Dakota State, Owen Larson, tore his ACL back in February, and when I talked with Coach Hendo a month or so ago, he's like, he's chomping. We're trying to hold him back a little bit, and we should see him at some point this year. There was some video that circulated over the weekend from Wichita that he was at least dressed and going through some warm-ups. Didn't play at all in the exhibition. But what's sort of the updated intel on Mr. Larson and when we can expect him on the floor for real?
Yeah, this has kind of been his thing so far. Like, he has been going through like the first part of workouts, has not got into any of like the contact portion. I know he's working really hard with our trainers and our sports performance team of getting that stability back, making sure he starts gaining confidence of, landing, and not only just landing in a perfect situation, but landing awkwardly and getting knocked off balance. And he's kind of gone through all that stuff. So, I mean, I don't know. He could be ready to go at some point in November. Yeah. Would love to see him, come off the bench by the time Destin rolls around. I just go back to, I remember Roman Penn a few years ago. He didn't play the first few games and then came off the bench to start the season, and then obviously worked his way back into like the starting role, but he was kind of on a pitch count. So I could probably see something like that where, you see him in for 5 minutes in a game early on, and then 10 minutes, and then it obviously works its way up. So it'd be interesting to kind of see how that plays out. But I know he's a guy that is a starter type guy. Right. He, I think, shot 40% or better at South Dakota State a year ago, 55 made threes from outside. So like his shooting will be a huge boost in the arm to this team whenever he's ready to rock.
December 18th, the Valley opener in Murray, Kentucky. That'd probably be a nice, if you can get him even to 15, 20 minutes at that point, you feel good by the time you get there. Another one of the additions that I think is intriguing, just from a standpoint of there is so much imported size into the Valley this year. And Isaiah Carr, a guy that Coach Hendo familiar with from his time in the Summit League at Denver, 6'11", only played 11 games last year, but 2 seasons ago, top 50 in the nation in blocks. What have you seen out of Isaiah so far, and maybe the impact he's going to be able to have early?
Yeah. Isaiah is, like, first and foremost, an awesome guy. And I could probably go down the list with all these guys. They're a very, they're a fun team, but Isaiah is one of those kind of like leader type guys people look to. Obviously, just with his stature, he's going to draw some attention. I know he missed a couple weeks in July on a trip to Europe. And so I know he was like a little bit behind, but he came back, he put the work in, and I feel like he's like starting to get there, because at Wichita, I was as intrigued to see how he would play in like game action as anybody on our roster, because in practice, it's hard to tell. It's hard to tell with him a little bit. I think he's one of those gamers. And watching him play on Saturday, he cleans up a lot of mistakes. Wichita State had a guy that was 7'2", and he couldn't even get a catch. I mean, it was really hard for them to get the ball into the paint. And then they also had another guy that was like 6'7", 6'8", but just extremely strong. And Isaiah was right there making it life tough on him. So I think what Isaiah brings is just a massive presence on the defensive end. He's still got some work to go on the offensive end. And once they get into a flow of the season, I think he's a guy that's going to set a lot of screens and do the dirty work that can set up this offense for success, because I think he's going to be very important for this team on the defensive end. It's just kind of balancing, okay, with the offense, with his defense, you might sacrifice a little bit on the offensive end, but he also is going to do some of that dirty work on the offensive end. It'll be that's one of the things that the coaches get paid to decide.
There you go. You have mentioned Jalen Quinn more than once. Again, it's like picking between your kids, but in the end, all these new faces, he's the one we really should probably be looking out for at this point.
Yeah, I mean, he's really good. I didn't realize just how good he was. Another guy that, like, when the lights were on, he played really well. And that might just be he might have just played really good against Wichita, and maybe played a little bit above um, what he will do night in and night out. But if Drake can get that Jalen Quinn every single night, yeah, that's going to be fun because, like, again, defensively, and when everybody thinks about like Hendo teams, you might think of run and gun and scoring in the 80s and all that stuff. They know how important defense is in the Valley, and they recruited to that. And Jalen Quinn is one of those guys that they brought in to be like, hey, you're going to take away their best offensive player. And I think that's kind of the mindset that they've instilled on JQ. And he shot the ball well, got to the rim, distributed the ball really well offensively. So yeah, he was a ton of fun to watch on Saturday. And I think he's a guy that will, kind of be in that, first team all MVC mix this season.
Schedule wise, when I talked to Coach Hendo, I was like, man, I don't know if this was part of the contract negotiation or what. 11 non-conference games, 7 of them in your building, which is spectacular. You've and we've talked in the past, about the metric stuff, and I think it's a very metric friendly schedule where all of you throw out the 2 non-D1s at home. You've got 4 quad 4 games. UAB could very much be a Q2 game before it's all said and done. Your neutral site games, Field of 68, Northern Arizona, Q4. You go to Destin. LSU is going to be a Q2. DePaul and Georgia Tech, probably that same level, whoever you get in the second game. And then Charleston on the road's a Q2 game. I think it's very friendly trying to put a resume together. But boy, 7 home games, take that and run for the hills.
Yeah, I mean, that was very intentional. And I think that was kind of the same philosophy a year ago when Coach Matt got here. It's like, all right, let's, year one, want to make it friendly for the team to kind of get used to each other and play in front of a home environment. You want to give those opportunities to your fans to meet the team and watch their team in person as much as possible. And so, yeah, we've seen that a couple times. I remember even one year with Darren, I wanted to get as many home games as possible. And then there was some injuries early on in the year with Roman and DJ a few years ago. So, yeah, I mean, that stuff is definitely strategic. And then, I think you look at the Field of 68, it's going home for,
Sure.
some of those guys going back to South Dakota. Griffin Goodberry was the player of the year the last 2 years at South Dakota or in South Dakota at the high school ranks. He gets to go home. So I know he's excited about that. So yeah, you get some of that stuff early on. UAB finally get that return game. And then the Charleston one is like, that's going to be a massive game when you talk about resume. Like, can Drake go down into their building and get a win? And I think early on in the season, not knowing what Owen's status is going to be, that's going to be one that you really circle in that non-conference slate.
If there is any team that can, and any program that can ignore preseason prognostications, it is the Drake Bulldogs. Most certainly. The Valley poll came out, not in the top 5. Still don't know why we didn't see 6 through 11, but what have you. Blue Ribbon had you guys 7th. Kem Palm's got you 5th. I saw Evan Maya this morning has you 9th. Yes, that's always nice bulletin board stuff, but at the same time, what if the rationale is, boy, they got a new coach and a whole new roster? You have to look an entire 52 weeks in the rearview mirror to go, yes, so what, right? Nobody's getting too wrapped around the axle about any of this.
Yeah, no, I don't think anybody's stressing about where we're at in the preseason polls. I know, there's definitely talk of like, all right, hey, can we exceed the expectations of others? Or what are our expectations that, we're putting on ourselves? And I'm not talking like I'm playing. I'm just saying this is how they're talking to each other. There's a little bit of that going on, but I don't know. There may be some gamesmanship within the polls too. Like, I don't think any coach wants to throw a bunch of expectations on his team publicly. But we heard from Hendo Monday, in the at media day, and they want to continue what has been established here and competing for championships. Like that's why they went and recruited a bunch of seniors, is to win right now. And those seniors didn't come to Drake to, wear the jersey. They came here to win. So, I mean, yeah, have your preseason stuff. We'll see how it all plays out. There's a long way to go. I know this team is not perfect yet, but I've seen championship teams, and they've got everything it takes to be in that same position.
Well, 4 out of the last 5 years going to the NCAA tournament, not bad. My whole takeaway, especially from KenPom, when you're just looking at computer numbers, and again, it's preseason stuff, but you guys they have you fifth, but the gap between 1 and 8 is so negligible, has been the word I've thrown out there. It's like one win, you can go from first or ninth. That they're so bunched up there. I think there's a lot of really good teams. I think there's a lot of good teams. I got to choose my words carefully. I think there's a lot of good teams today in the Valley. Especially in the top 8. The question will be, is there a very good team, and will we get a great team, and who gets to be the rabbit? Last year, you guys were the rabbit and ran away from the pack, and everybody had to try to chase you down. And that's just the great mystery that will be solved in the next couple of weeks is who gets to go run away and hide.
Yeah. I mean, like me, I don't care for betting. I don't care for like fantasy football or any of that stuff, because I like watching the game for as it is. And like, I enjoy the fodder that comes with polls and stuff like this, but I just don't even know how a KenPom or anybody can create a stat where it's like all of the 11 of 13 new players, and Drake is not in its own situation. I mean, this is everybody. I don't understand how you could even possibly predict how players' stats from previous years correlate to winning basketball, because there's so much more about winning basketball or to winning basketball than numbers. And so, yeah, I don't know, man. I put nothing into this stuff.
Well, but it's fodder, and we need something to argue about in mid-October. That's the great joy of all of it, probably.
Yeah.
The journey begins November the 3rd in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. Murray State will kick things off there at 12:30.
Will you be up there?
Omaha. Yes, I'll be there. And then right after, we'll have Michael Admire and the Drake Bulldogs waiting for me to wrap up my postgame show so we can get the heck off press row, and you can have your seat as you guys will take on Northern Arizona. So
I didn't even put 2 and 2 together that we're going to be hanging out in just a couple of weeks.
It is almost time. And then we got the first Valley game there on December 18th.
I know.
So,
that's crazy.
It's been a long summer. I'm glad it's finally got to see the ball bounce. I got to watch Bradley and Green Bay on Saturday on ESPN Plus, and I was like, it's great. I see basketball. I had to, do the stick figures and imagine what was going on in Wichita, because we were relying on you to put your little clips out, because for whatever reason they didn't want to put that out to the world. But it's go time, and super excited.
Yeah, no, hopefully enjoyed my little clips.
That was great.
I was trying to give everybody a little bit of taste.
Just a taste. Just keep them coming back. You always want to leave a little more on the bone there for them. So
got a little marketing marketing strategy. Do it.
Well done.
Right.
Best of luck to you and the family over the next couple of weeks. We'll see you. We'll see you in South Dakota, and we'll talk very soon.
I love it, man. We'll catch you up there.